Wardley, Dubois. That kind of rhymes with like Snoop Doggy Dogg. That's been in my mind all day. And ridiculous as it may be, if it's been in my mind all day, then like Bagsy pass it on. Do you remember that? Do you remember when you was at school and it was like Bagsy pass it on and you just have to pass whatever ridiculousness on to somebody else? So hopefully that sticks in your head and yeah, ruins your day as well. But Wardley versus Dubois, yeah, it's going down tonight. It's a massive fight. I'm excited for it. This is probably the most excited I've been, and I know I'm not a very excitable character, so you might not always be able to tell from my facial expressions, but this is the most excited I've been for a heavyweight fight in a little bit. In fact, it might be the most excited I've been since the last time Wardley fought, which was against Joseph Parker. I was fortunate enough to go see that fight for free, and that was a great fight. That was a very exciting fight. I thought Wardley was very lucky. I don't know whether lucky is right, but fortunate, let's say, to get away with that one, as he was his last one as well. And so, it seems like a lot of the casuals are going for Wardley, and a lot of you know, the hardcore boxing, and even to be fair, looking at the betting, have Dubois a slight favorite. And I understand why. Dubois is definitely the more schooled, albeit everyone's spoken at this point about Wardley and how he's from a white collar background, and I guess everyone's more schooled than he is, right? Harry Potter's probably more schooled than Wardley, but Dubois has fought the high level opposition. He's fought guys like Hergovich, guys like Miller, guys like Joshua on that great three-fight run that landed him the rematch against Usyk. So he's fought Usyk before that and gave him a real good go in the first fight. Second fight, not so much. And early in his career, he's fought guys like Joe Joyce. So whilst I get all of that, and that three-fight run was incredible, right? I think it was actually Miller, Hergovich, Joshua, right? So I just got the order slightly off. But I still going with Wardley, man. I know I still isn't very good English, so let's rephrase that. I'm still going with Wardley, man. Um, Call me a casual if you want, but for me, there's just too many intangibles in Wardley's favor and too many intangibles going against Dubois, right? So let's go through them. Number one, Dubois is mentally fragile. I think everybody knows that at this point, right? Uh, and there's no harm in getting batted up by Alexander Usyk, but there's something you have to question when somebody like goes on a knee and as soon as the ref waves it off, they get straight back up and walk to the corner, absolutely fine, fine as a daisy, right? And the eye situation against Joe Joyce, listen, I'm never gonna sit here and criticize that. No one knows what it was like to be in that situation, but once it's happened three times, once you've taken a knee three times, yeah, it's a lot easier to take a fourth than it is to take your first one. And Wardley's never lost, Wardley's never quit. And so the fragility aspect of it is not good. And I think there's certain things that compound it for me. So the fact that when he was on that three-fight run, he physically looked outstanding. Like he looked diesel, yeah. And there was a lot of talk at the time, and look, none of this stuff is proven and it's hearsay, but there was a lot of talk at the time about the trips he was doing to Brazil, and there's talk about how VADA aren't able to visit Brazil. So you're supposed to tell them where you are all the time so they can come and test you. But even if you tell them that you're in Brazil, it's not like they're gonna come and find you there. And so like I'm basically trying to make it an inference about him juicing, essentially. And you look at his physique now, he's coming his heaviest, and I don't think that's a good look against someone like Wardley, right? And I understand heavyweights coming in a little bit bigger to be able to absorb the shots. Fury's done that. And you could arguably say he did it well against, in the second and third fight against Wilder. You also say the second fight against Usyk, but the problem or the risk that Usyk can't get my words out. The risk that Fury was trying to mitigate by coming in heavier, right, was him just not having the mass to absorb the shots, right? So it was a physiological thing that he was trying to mitigate. And you get that because you don't really have to question Fury's chin or his heart in the ring, you know. But the thing with Dubois is if he's coming in heavier to absorb big shots against a big puncher, like I don't think his issue is physiological to begin with. I think Dubois' issue is more mental. Like when he's getting outclassed, when he's eating shots, he doesn't like it, right? And I know it's different, you know, on that 3 fight run where he was walking through hellfire, but he physically looked different to me then. And I think like maybe that was giving him a lot of confidence. But seeing him coming in with a little bit of gut, seeing him the heaviest he's ever been, like I think the only thing that's really going to do is make him a bit slower. I don't think it's going to make him withstand hellfire from Wardley because he won't like it psychologically. And the margins are very thin in heavyweight boxing, right? Split seconds count, and he was so quick against Joshua. Like the way he was able to get his punch in first, the way he was able to engage same time punching, but just land faster. You know, he was rapid, and being slower, I don't think is going to help him in any way. It's just going to maybe make him a standing target for somebody you really don't want to be a standing target against. And the fact that Wardley is so far in the other direction, like in terms of his mental strength, you know, he's like, I went to go see that Mortal Kombat film, and you know, the son of Scorpion, his special power is that like he absorbs other people's, you know, uh power, I guess. But so it's almost like he's charging up the battery the more shots you give him, right? And he's getting stronger. And I feel like that's almost Wardley's magical Mortal Kombat power. The more you hit him, the more he hits you back harder, right? And so yeah, I think the bookies are wrong. I think, you know, if you're that way inclined and you want to have a little flutter, I think Wardley's good value at evens. I think it could be difficult for him early on, as it is in all of his fights, right? Not all, but most of his fights. You know, he can get outboxed, he can get outclassed. But I think when you get into the middle to late rounds, I see Wardley getting him out of there, to be honest. And but listen, I'm respectful of the fact that the bookies have got evens, and I'm hoping for a back and forth fight. I'm hoping for jeopardy on both sides, right? Um, what else can I say in terms of like the analysis? I mean, there's a very real phenomena, I think, where um, fighters get 20, 30% better when they win a title. Now, Wardley, I mean, he's not a legitimate world champion, right? I guess the terminology that makes me feel comfortable is to say Wardley's a world titleist, yeah, as opposed to a champion. You know, he has a title, which he got from beating Parker. Parker was kind of holding some interim situation, and then obviously Usyk has chosen not to fight him, so he's been elevated to world champion, right? But there is a confidence that comes with that, and so I guess that brings me to like the other point, whereas even though Wardley was getting like he's probably like if you look at his last 2 fights, he's probably lost the majority of the rounds. In fact, I don't think there's probably about it because he lost almost every round against Justice Suni and he lost most of the rounds against Parker. But and against Parker, I think it was a slightly early stoppage as well. I think that's a convenient segue to the other point that like sometimes luck isn't always coincidental in boxing, right? It comes down to economics as well. And I think for someone like Frank Warren or the boxing industry in the UK in general or worldwide, right? Whatever's the most economically expedient outcome is usually the outcome in a close fight. And so if you ask yourself, who does it help if Dubois wins? Doesn't really help Frank Warren because you can't make the Fury fight or the Joshua rematch or the Usyk fight, right? Because none of these guys are going to want to fight him. They don't really Dubois doesn't have anything to offer them, and he's already got three losses, three stoppages on his record. Usyk's already bashed out twice. Joshua Fury gonna fight each other. He does like there isn't really anywhere to go other than maybe a rematch, right? Or maybe like a fight against Caballero, which nobody's gonna want to pay to see at this point. Like Dubois has had his big money nights, you know. Frank spent his money on Dubois. He's probably made his money back with the big Joshua night and the Usyk nights and so on. And like Dubois must be pretty comfortable unless he's like not being well looked after. I mean, looking at the state of that house, he's probably done quite well, you know, the one that he had the house party in. And yeah, he's made big money. Um even before the Joshua fight, like he was in a couple of purse bid situations that worked out really well for him. And so at this point, Frank might be just ready to, you know, let him take a loss. And usually in these promotional contracts, it's like, yeah, you know, your guarantee goes down if you take a loss. But who does it help on the flip side if Fabio wins? Well, um, Fabio is undefeated. He's a puncher. He's, you know, starting to build a bit of a, you know, a football audience with Ipswich. Um, I'm not sure, but I think maybe Ipswich are coming up. I think they might be second, so they might be in the Premier League next year, which means that more opportunities to go on like Talk Sports, Sky Sports, that type of thing. And yeah, there's still like big fights to be had, right? And you know, if Fury and Joshua are gonna fight each other and fight each other twice, then Usyk needs an opponent, right? And I think Fabio with his punching, he would be a sellable opponent for real, for real. You know, some people might think, nah, he doesn't have that much of a following. Listen, if he sparks Dubois, yeah, and the knockout record that he's got, and you know, he's got a Premier League team behind him, you know, like they could do like a summer stadium fight. They could do something like that or a September stadium fight. And and I think uh TV likes him. He speaks well. He's pretty charismatic. I mean, relative to Dubois, it's not difficult. But I think Dubois is someone that really Frank is probably looking to feed to Moses Atalma. Do you know what I mean? Maybe not straight away, but if he loses this fight, and then you give Dubois a warm up, right? And then like Itama versus Dubois is a massive pay-per-view. And it's relatively safe at that point, you know, if Dubois has got four losses on his record. Um, but I think like he probably wants to keep Wardley winning, and then build that fight down the line. So I think if the intangibles favor you, that counts for a lot. Final point that I'll make, and I think this video has gone a bit longer than expected, but the final point that I'll make as well, the reason why I'm personally backing Wardley, is that the training situation I mentioned, I don't really like the look of Dubois' physique. He was after the whole palaver about the house party, supposed to have left Don Charles and gone to work with Tony Sims for off the Peacock Gym. Tony Sims, also, you know, original trainer of Andy Joshua when he first turned pro. And also was, and it might still be Conor Ben's trainer, and a whole host of others, right? Been in boxing a long time, and that lasted all of 5 minutes, and they've gone back to Don Charles. So things like that aren't a good look either. Do you know what I mean? When you split from your trainer, and then maybe like Tony Sims wasn't having no games, which is what the rumor is, and then he's had to go back to Don Charles because there's nowhere else to go. Like these types of things, just like they don't paint a pretty picture. Do you know what I mean? So I'm calling Wardley by knockout. I know this is a little bit late, uh, but yeah, hopefully, you guys get to see it before the fight and get in the comments if I'm wrong. Peace.